There exists, dear soul, within the silent chambers of your being, a secret doorway. Hidden not in some faraway temple, nor in the distant heavens, but quietly resting in the sacred space between your brows, the seat of divine perception. In the ancient yogic traditions, and most exquisitely described by the God-intoxicated sage, Paramahansa Yogananda, this center is known as the spiritual eye, the third eye, the gateway to the infinite. From time immemorial, saints and sages have spoken of this inner portal, a point through which the soul, weary of its long exile in matter, retraces its path home to spirit. Yogananda taught that it is not a symbol, nor a poetic notion, but a tangible, perceivable reality, a luminous star shining within a field of dark blue light, ringed by a halo of gold. To see this is to behold the face of eternity. What happens, you might wonder, when a seeker, determined, devoted, and unshaken by the tempests of life, meditates upon this third eye, not for a mere passing day, but consistently, steadily, and sincerely over the course of years? What becomes of a consciousness that learns to abandon the restless currents of thought and merge its gaze with the eternal light within? Yogananda assured us that this inward pilgrimage, though arduous, yields the most priceless treasures, liberation from fear, and unwavering peace in the face of life's shadows, the expansion of intuitive wisdom, and above all, the ultimate union with the infinite, wherein the soul realizes its eternal kinship with the divine. In this video, we shall walk together through the hallowed corridors of this ancient teaching. Through Yogananda's words, drawn from the wellspring of his direct experience, we will uncover what awaits the sincere seeker on this sacred path. You are not here by accident. It is the gentle hand of the divine that has led you to these words, and perhaps, to the beginning of your own inner awakening. Let us begin, dear friend, not with mere curiosity, but with reverence, for the knowledge of the soul is the highest wisdom known to man. To tread the inward path, one must first know the terrain upon which the soul journeys. Yogananda, with the gentle certainty of one who has walked that celestial road, often spoke of the spiritual eye, the third eye, not as myth, nor as mere philosophy, but as a living, perceivable gateway into subtler realms of existence. It is the single eye that Jesus spoke of when he said, "If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light." This sacred center is located at the point between the eyebrows, a spot known in yogic science as the Ajna chakra. But what lies there is not merely an anatomical point, nor a play of imagination. Yogananda described it with exquisite clarity, a deep blue-violet orb, surrounded by a golden ring, with a radiant, five-pointed star shining at its heart. This is not a symbolic vision. It is an actual, inner phenomenon experienced by the yogi who has stilled the waves of breath and mind. Why is it called the spiritual eye? Because it is through this luminous aperture that one begins to behold the inner worlds, the astral realms, the luminous spheres where matter becomes light, and light becomes consciousness. Through this portal, the soul peeks beyond the veils of the physical, and glimpses the eternal truths that lie at the heart of all creation. Yogananda lovingly taught that the more we concentrate upon this sacred point in meditation, the more our scattered life currents are gathered and redirected inward, away from the restless senses, and upward toward higher centers of awareness. In time, the light of this eye becomes clearer, more vivid, and expands, illuminating not only the inner skies of meditation but also the landscape of one's daily life, bringing clarity, calmness, and divine intuition. In truth, dear seeker, to understand the spiritual eye is to understand the doorway to your own higher self. It is the beacon home, forever calling the soul back to its true abode in spirit. And so, It is not merely a point between the eyebrows, but the meeting place between man and the infinite. Since the earliest dawn of human awareness, long before the written word, there were those among men who felt the stirring of a higher call, a mysterious yearning that no earthly pleasure could still. These seekers withdrew from the noisy marketplace of life, seeking solace in forests, caves, and mountaintops. And what, dear soul, did they seek? Not wealth, not fame, but the eternal. Yogananda often reminded us that this ancient quest was not born of escapism, but of the soul's deep memory, an unshakable intuition that its true home lies beyond the fleeting appearances of this world. In the yogic traditions, the third eye was revered as the sacred doorway through which this grand return could be made. In the sacred science of Kriya Yoga, the practice of concentrating upon the spiritual eye is not a technique conjured by the speculative mind, but a method revealed by illumined masters to lead the soul homeward, step by step. When a yogi fixes his inner gaze there, withdrawing life currents from the lower centers and senses, he transcends the limitations of body and mind. As the ancient Bhagavad Gita declares, closing the doors of the senses, fixing the mind at the point between the eyebrows, the sage achieves liberation. The purpose of this meditation, Yogananda taught, is nothing less than God realization, the direct, unmediated experience of one's oneness with the infinite. The third eye is the highway between the little ego self and the vast ocean of spirit. Every moment of concentrated awareness at this point burns away a veil of delusion, dissolves a chain of past karma, and inches the soul closer to its eternal source. Thus, when one meditates consistently at this sacred center over years, one follows in the footsteps of the ancient rishis, the great prophets, and the saints of every faith, who knew this single truth, that within man lies the entire cosmos, and within the third eye lies the key to unlock it. It is no idle practice, dear one. It is the ancient rite of homecoming. As the seeker persists in this sacred discipline of gazing within, at the third eye, something remarkable begins to unfold. Yogananda often likened the human body to a finely tuned instrument, one that, through right meditation, becomes increasingly receptive to the currents of spirit flowing through it. In the initial stages, the restless mind, like a turbulent lake, resists stillness. Thoughts, memories, and emotions rise in waves, seeking to reclaim the attention. But as the practitioner gently draws his awareness back again and again to the spiritual eye, a mysterious alchemy takes place. The breath, so intimately connected to the restless mind, begins to slow. And as breath subsides, so too does thought. Yogananda taught that man's consciousness is habitually scattered through the senses, like rays of light diffused into the world. But as these rays are concentrated inward and upward at the third eye, the life currents gradually withdraw from the lower centers, the heart, the stomach, the limbs, and ascend the spine, refining the nervous system, calming the heartbeat, and illuminating the brain's higher centers. The meditator begins to feel an inner lightness, a detachment from the heavy limitations of the body. The senses lose their tyrannical grip, and the awareness becomes increasingly interiorized. In time, the practitioner may behold inner visions, a vast darkness, a golden halo, or the radiant spiritual eye itself. Even before such visions appear, there comes a peace so deep, Yogananda described it as 1,000 worldly joys rolled into one. Physiologically, the brain undergoes subtle changes. The pineal gland, long regarded by mystics as the seat of the soul, becomes activated. Nervous tensions dissolve. The sympathetic and parasympathetic systems harmonize. Modern science now glimpses what the ancient yogis knew, That meditative focus upon this center profoundly alters brainwave activity, heart rhythms, and biochemistry, fostering healing, clarity, and longevity. But above all, it is the mind that undergoes the greatest transmutation. From a restless, clouded mirror reflecting fleeting images, it becomes a still, polished glass, capable of reflecting the boundless light of spirit. Thus begins the soul's return to its native state of wisdom, peace, and bliss. Yogananda lovingly taught that the path of meditation is not a barren road, but a pilgrimage adorned with sacred signs and celestial vistas, meant to assure the earnest seeker that the journey is real and the goal attainable. For those who consistently and sincerely meditate at the spiritual eye, subtle inner transformations quietly blossom over the years, like a flower opening at dawn, unnoticed yet inevitable. In the beginning, the meditator may notice fleeting glimpses of inner light, tiny flashes, a deepening of inner space, or a peculiar sense of weightlessness. Sounds may arise, a gentle hum, a high-pitched whistle, the tinkling of astral bells. Yogananda explained that these are the divine symptoms of the life force withdrawing inward, disengaging from the senses, and tuning to subtler realms. As the practice deepens over months and years, the inner light becomes steadier. What was once darkness behind closed eyes gives way to an expansive indigo blue, encircled by a soft, golden ring. In time, and through devotion, the luminous five-pointed star appears at the center of this cosmic eye, a symbol of the soul's imminent union with spirit. Alongside these inner visions, the practitioner begins to experience states of profound peace, detached joy, and intuitive knowing. The heart grows calm, untouched by outer circumstances. Fear and anxiety, which once ruled the mind, begin to wither like shadows before a rising sun. Yogananda often spoke of the gradual awakening of superconscious states, a condition in which the meditator, while fully aware, transcends the limitations of the physical body and mind. The boundaries between self and universe blur. At times, one may feel the subtle expansion of consciousness, as though one's being stretches beyond the confines of the flesh, merging with the vast stillness of space. Such experiences are not to be clung to, nor sought for their own sake. Yogananda warned against the distraction of phenomena. Instead, he urged the seeker to remain centered in devotion and practice, for these signs are but milestones along a far greater road, the return to oneness with the infinite. It is a profound truth, dear soul, that the fruits of meditation are not confined to the silence of the meditation room. Yogananda beautifully taught that the true test of a yogi's progress lies not in visions nor mystical experiences alone, but in the steady transformation of character, perception, and consciousness in the living moments of daily life. As one persists in the sacred practice of meditating at the spiritual eye, something quietly miraculous occurs. The consciousness, which once identified itself with the narrow confines of name, form, and personal desire, begins to expand. The individual no longer moves through life as a fragile, reactive ego buffeted by circumstances, but as a calm witness, anchored in an inner ocean of peace. Yogananda often spoke of this transformation in gentle yet certain terms. The meditator, he said, develops an intuitive understanding of people and events. Situations that once provoked anger or fear lose their power. The mind, once restless and clouded, becomes a steady, luminous lake, reflecting truth with clarity. Decisions are made not through restless debate, but from a place of centered knowing. The heart grows kinder, the tongue gentler. One sees the hidden struggles in others' eyes and responds not with judgment, but with silent compassion. The petty irritations of life, delays, slights, losses, are met with an equanimity born not of suppression, but of genuine inner freedom. Yogananda reminded us that such changes are not the result of intellectual effort alone, but the natural consequence of bathing daily in the light of spirit through meditation. As the life currents rise and the inner gaze remains fixed on the spiritual eye, divine qualities awaken: forgiveness, humility, joy without cause, and love untainted by condition. In time, the meditator's very presence becomes a blessing to others. As Yogananda said, "Be like a rose, though silent, it speaks through the language of fragrance." The soul radiates a peace that the world cannot give, and to those around them, such a one becomes a living reminder of higher possibilities. In the timeless scriptures of India, it is declared that the human birth is the rarest of opportunities, for it offers the chance to know God, not through belief alone, but through direct, unbroken union. Yogananda, the compassionate master of our age, affirmed this ancient truth, that the destiny of every soul, regardless of its present condition, is eventual return to the infinite. The steadfast practice of meditating at the spiritual eye is the sacred vehicle by which this destiny is fulfilled. As the years pass and the devotee remains faithful, the last veils of ego and delusion are gradually lifted. The meditator no longer merely glimpses divine peace in moments of silence, but begins to dwell within it, unshaken by the dualities of joy and sorrow, gain and loss, life and death. Yogananda described this culminating state as Samadhi, perfect union of the individual soul with the boundless spirit. In this exalted condition, one perceives the world not as solid matter, but as a play of light and thought within the vast, eternal consciousness. The meditator realizes with awe that all things, the stars, the earth, the rivers, the bodies of men, are waves upon a single, infinite ocean of bliss. Fear vanishes. The thirst for transient pleasures is quenched forever. The question of death loses meaning, for the soul knows itself as deathless. Yogananda himself, who tasted this state countless times, described it as an ocean of ever-new joy, where the mind cannot wander, for it has dissolved into the greater mind. And yet, even as such a soul may choose to remain in human form for a time, it walks in this world untouched. Its words carry a fragrance of eternity. Its eyes see the hidden light in all beings. Its heart flows with a love that knows no separation, for it has beheld the face of the One and All. This, dear seeker, is the supreme promise of meditation at the third eye, not mere tranquility, not fleeting visions, but awakening to your eternal, boundless self. As Yogananda often said, you do not have to acquire divine qualities. You are already divine. Only you have to remember that truth. Dear soul, if you have journeyed with me thus far, know this: the light you seek is not far away, not hidden in distant heavens, nor bound by ancient texts alone. It dwells within you, closer than your breath, waiting to be known, remembered, embraced. Yogananda, in his deep compassion for all seekers, would often say, the kingdom of God is not a metaphysical theory, it is a tangible reality within you, waiting for discovery. And that discovery begins not with grand proclamations, but with a simple, quiet act, the turning of your gaze inward, toward the point between the eyebrows, the seat of your spiritual sight. The road ahead may seem long, and at times your heart may grow weary. The world, with its incessant demands and endless distractions, will seek to reclaim your attention. But remember, dear one, that each moment you choose to sit in silence, to anchor your awareness at the spiritual eye, you are clearing away ancient veils, returning to your native country of peace, wisdom, and joy. Do not be disheartened by the seeming slowness of progress. The oak does not rush to become a mighty tree. The river, though it winds and bends, ultimately finds its ocean. And so too will you, for the call of spirit is irresistible, and the soul's longing for home can be delayed, but never denied. Yogananda promised that to those who persist with love, devotion, and faith, the doors of inner perception will open. You will see with the eye of the Spirit, hear the music of the spheres, and merge, at last, in the blissful embrace of the infinite. You are not a mere mortal seeking God, you are God temporarily dreaming itself as mortal. And so, beloved seeker, go forth with courage. Carry this wisdom into your days. Meditate with steady devotion. Serve with kindness. Speak with gentleness. And above all, love without condition. For in the tapestry of this fleeting life, these are the signs of the awakened one. Until we meet again in the silent temple of your own heart, may the light of the infinite shine ever upon you.